Those healthy habits that most women are proud of, like obsessively hitting your protein target and cutting out all refined sugar, well, these may be the exact reason why you can't lose weight. So as a registered dietitian whose weight loss advice has been featured in leading media outlets around the world, here are the 5 healthy habits keeping you stuck. And I do just want to say that I have never found weight loss easy either. And as women, when you consider puberty, pregnancy, postpartum, then menopause, the road for females requires a lot more navigation for us than it does for males. I also have PCOS, which does in fact make weight loss harder. But hard does not mean not possible. So let's get straight into it. First up, how many of you go onto Instagram or your favorite wellness blogs and you make these so-called healthy recipes? Because this might not only be what's stalling your weight loss progress, but I have also seen for some people this to cause weight gain. For example, I was looking at a healthy brownie recipe last week from a very popular social media influencer. And when I compared it to a regular brownie of similar size, it had almost 1.5 times the calories. Now, I could tell this straight away because I'm a dietitian trained in the art of recipe and nutrition analysis. But for anyone else who's presented with this delicious looking brownie that's labeled as refined sugar-free, dairy-free, gluten-free, keto-friendly, paleo-friendly, you would have been easily fooled that this recipe was good for you. Another recipe on this site was this skin glow salad that had 800 calories per serving. Now, I'm not trying to say that we should be eating boring salads and low-calorie everything, but most of my weight loss clients don't need an 800 calorie salad at lunch. A normal sandwich with bread would likely have had a lot less calories, whilst also being a lot more satisfying. However, again, unless most people are trained in this nutrition analysis, they're not going to realize this. And they would have 100% easily assumed that this salad was a better option than that sandwich that they love to eat. So yes, sometimes you think you're being good by eating these foods or recipes that are marketed as these health foods, but you could be easily eating the same, if not more calories. And because you think that they are good for you, you're way more likely to go in for seconds. So just let me be clear. If something is made with coconut sugar, it is still sugar. It doesn't matter that it came from a coconut. And refined sugar-free is not sugar-free. Honey, maple syrup, and date syrup, these are all added sugars that still have calories and that your body processes in the exact same way that it processes regular table sugar. Coconut oil is not magic. It's just oil with very good PR. And almond flour, yes, it's lower in carbs, but it's higher in calories than your regular flour. So a lot of these recipes, they're not necessarily healthy, they are expensive. They're not what people like to call clean, they're trendy. And they're not helping you lose weight. They're keeping you feeling stuck. My biggest pet peeve one at the moment is the refined sugar-free. So many influencers are just adding this into the tagline of their recipes to give their cookies this health halo. But the cookie is still a cookie. The argument here is that if they are using something like honey or maple syrup or coconut sugar, that it has more micronutrients because it's from a more natural sugar source. But you should be getting your micronutrients from things like fruits and vegetables, not from cookies. Now, I really want to be clear that what I'm trying to say is that you shouldn't be eating any cookie. What I'm actually saying is that your regular cookie, in moderation, will serve you just as well, if not better, than some of these $10 ones you're seeing in the store, or the ones with all the superfood ingredients. And I have had clients come to me religiously making these recipes, wondering why they can't lose weight. And this is why. When it comes to weight loss, you need recipes that are calorie controlled to an extent. This doesn't mean they have to be bland, boring, and unflavorful. So if you do want some trusted recipe inspiration, I have many of these over on my Instagram, and I have a free recipe ebook which I will leave linked in the description box below. But moral of the story is just be a little bit skeptical with some of these healthy recipes that you see online. Now, when it comes to protein, yes, eating more is an excellent weight loss strategy. It keeps you full and it helps you maintain muscle. But you can go too far. And a lot of the information online is promoting that you try to hit a pretty high target of sometimes over 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight, or 2.2 grams per kg. So for a 150 pound or 70 kg female, they would need to be eating 150 grams of protein a day, which is actually quite a lot and not very easy for everyone. However, what you don't hear online is that you don't necessarily need to hit that amount. When it comes to weight loss, anywhere from 1.2 to 2 grams of protein per kg will be fine. And this is so important because some people will find this very easy and some people will find it really challenging. So you need to find the approach that works for you. There's no point in overeating on protein if you really hate it. So instead of just trying to hit this one high maximum number, use a range. Some days you might be on the lower end, that's fine, your muscles won't necessarily disintegrate overnight. And other days you will eat more. But as long as you're always getting in at least 1.2 grams of protein per kg, you are probably doing all right. Because what I often see happen is many women find themselves forcing down these protein shakes that they don't even want to eat. They're adding chicken breasts to everything, stressing about this 150 gram to 200 gram target of protein that they're trying to consume. And they're miserable. And because they're so focused on this protein target, they're either overeating on their total calories or they're so full from the protein that they can't enjoy their meals anymore. So for the average woman trying to lose weight and maintain muscle, you don't need to eat like you're prepping for a bodybuilder show. Yes, some people this might work and they find it easy to eat plenty of protein. But for some of us, we tend to lean towards other food sources, like we prefer to eat more carbs. But as long as you're still hitting around 100 to 120 grams of protein most days, you're still doing fine. What matters the most is that you're consistent, that you're in a calorie deficit and that you're actually enjoying what you eat so you can stick to it long term. Because a diet that you can sustain long term is a diet that works. So yes, prioritize protein, but stop stressing about hitting some arbitrary number. You could aim for the lower end of the range some days if that's what feels more sustainable to you. You can still get results and you won't be miserable doing it. Now, carbs are not the enemy, but knowing how many work for you, that is the game changer. And for most women, 30 to 40 grams of starchy carbs, like rice, pasta, or bread, per meal is a good target. If you have insulin resistance, PCOS, or pre-diabetes, aim for 20 to 30 grams instead. And if you're going through menopause, the lower end is usually better. Men can generally handle more. And just to be clear, I'm not talking about the carbs that you get from things like vegetables, fruit, or from dairy. Just those starchy carbs, like your oats, potatoes, grains, bread, rice, and pasta. And carbs give you energy, and you need energy to function every single day. So please do not demonize them. No energy will make sticking to a weight loss diet very, very difficult. And there are a lot of diets out there that suggest sticking to like 50 grams of carbohydrates a day. And that is not practical or sustainable for many people. And that's why people are always falling on and off their diet. People need at least 130 grams of carbohydrates every single day to meet the body's energy needs. After that, it becomes very personal. Like it can depend on how much exercise or how active you are. Some people utilize carbs better than others. For example, women with PCOS tend to have more insulin resistance and may not utilize them as well. Or it can be just down to preference. Some people like to have a lot of carbohydrates in their diet. Some people prefer to have lots of fats. It's about finding your sweet spot and making adjustments. And for context, half a cup of oats is around 30 grams of carbohydrates. 2 slices of whole grain bread is 30 grams of carbohydrates, and 1 cup of rice is 45 grams. So you by no means need to be cutting carbs out. It's just managing your portion sizes. What I would also challenge you to do is flip the order in which you have your carbohydrates. I see so many people over prioritize getting protein in at breakfast, which is important, but then they completely forget about their carbs, or they're scared to increase the amount of oats that they have in the morning. However, they've no issue with giving themselves extra pasta or rice when it comes to dinner. But earlier in the day is when your body is more primed to use carbohydrates, not in the evening before you go to bed at night. Carbs in the morning and at lunch give you fuel. They keep you satisfied and prevent that 3 p.m. energy slump. Then at dinner, you can go a bit lighter since you're winding down for bed anyway. And if you have PCOS, which about 1 in 10 women have, however, many don't even know they have it, higher protein, moderately lower carb diets, they can be really helpful for managing insulin resistance. But that is PCOS specific evidence-based nutrition. It's not because carbs are bad, but because of how PCOS affects your hormones and insulin. And this is quite similar to menopause, where some women may experience a degree of some insulin resistance too. The point is, carbs aren't making you gain weight. Overeating on total calories is what makes you gain weight. And for most people, being more mindful about when and how much you're eating carbs, not eliminating them, is what's going to help. Now, this is probably the biggest one that I see. Many people think they're barely eating because they're not sitting down to have structured meals. They get busy at work and work through lunch, or skip breakfast because they're prioritizing getting the kids fed before they go to school. And they think they're doing well here because they've skipped some meals. So they must have skipped a big chunk of calories, right? But wrong. Instead, they graze or have small snacks throughout the morning. And they could be healthy snacks. A handful of almonds, some hummus and veggies, a protein bar, maybe some dark chocolate. But I promise you, all these small snacks and nibbles are just eating your child's leftovers. These can add up to way more calories than you would have consumed if you just sat down to eat a balanced meal. And the issue here isn't the snacks themselves. And it's not even really the calories. It's that when you haven't sat down to have a meal, you haven't registered that you've eaten very much. You think you've just had a few bites here and there while sitting at your desk. But sitting down to have a meal and being present, this does something in your mind to make you think, well, I've eaten now. If you don't do this, you will genuinely believe that you haven't eaten much. You will be like, Maria, I don't get it. Why am I not losing weight? And unbeknownst to yourself, you're eating way more calories than you could have guessed. Wondering why you're always hungry and the weight isn't coming off. This is something that I do myself sometimes too. There are days when I'm busy where I'm just all over the place and I feel like I haven't eaten much, but really I probably have eaten way more than I normally would. So stop grazing and start having structured meals. Or track your snacking patterns for 1 week and you will be amazed at what you actually consume. So most people think that in order to lose weight, you need to do loads and loads of exercise. But sometimes this can make you hungrier, or simply you think you have earned the right to eat more food. And it's something I see a lot with women who take up running. They take up running in an effort to try and lose weight and they end up gaining weight. It happens way more often than you would think. And I'm not saying don't run, I actually love running. And when approached correctly, it can help you manage your weight. But I do want to tell you about the exercise constraint theory. So there is this really fascinating study where researchers looked at the 𝗤𝗔𝗥𝗧𝗜, a hunter-gatherer tribe in Tanzania. And these people walk 15 to 20,000 steps a day, way more than the average person in the Western world. And you would think that they burn way more calories, right? But the crazy part is, they didn't. Even though they were way more active, their total daily energy expenditure, basically the total calories they burned a day, was not all that different from people living in the modern sedentary world. And the researchers called this the constrained energy model. And what it suggests is that our bodies are a lot smarter and sneakier than we think. So when we dramatically increase our activity, our bodies may compensate by dialing down energy use elsewhere. Things like fidgeting less, reducing non-essential movement, or even subtly lowering energy spend on certain internal processes. So what does this mean for weight loss? Because it doesn't mean that exercise is useless. This isn't a hall pass to go sit on the couch all the time. Movement is still essential for your physical and your mental health. But it does mean that trying to outrun your fork by just doing more and more steps or more and more workouts might not lead to the weight loss that you expect. And for a lot of women, we are already juggling a whole host of commitments, whether it's family, work, kids, or all three. In other words, if you're walking 10,000 steps a day, doubling it to 20,000 won't necessarily double your calorie burn. And that's why focusing on sustainable movement that you enjoy, rather than punishing workouts or chasing these huge step goals, is often more effective and easier to stick with. And when it comes to walking, the benefits follow a curve, not a straight line. At the start, going from almost 0 to around 7,000 to 8,000 steps will give you huge benefits. You'll have better cardiovascular health, improved blood sugar, lower mortality risk, and a noticeable bump in calorie expenditure. But once you get to the 12,000 to 15,000 steps a day mark, these benefits then start to level off. You're still moving, which is great, but you're putting a lot more time and effort into a smaller return. It's a classic case of diminishing returns. And that's why aiming for a sustainable, realistic target, often somewhere in the 7,000 to 10,000 steps a day range, is perfectly fine for most people, especially if your main goal is weight loss and overall health rather than marathon level fitness. Where you're going to get far more bang for your buck is by pairing that daily movement with 2 to 3 strength sessions a week. Building muscle doesn't just make you stronger. It increases your metabolism, improves how your body uses energy, and helps make weight loss easier to maintain long term. So there you have it, 5 healthy habits that are very likely keeping you stuck. Be cautious of healthy recipes that you see online. Approach protein and carbs correctly. Don't overkill yourself with exercise. And make an effort to have regular balanced meals. If you want an actual actionable plan for fat loss that is based on science and not Instagram trends, I have a weight loss guide that breaks down exactly what to do. I'll leave that linked in the description box below. But if you found this video helpful and you want more no-nonsense advice, make sure to hit subscribe because I have new videos every single week. As always, thank you very much for watching. Stay happy and stay healthy, and I'll see you again next week. Thanks for watching.